Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Three Gals Talk Ghost. Kat, Jane, and Raven here. We're just three gals that like to sit around and talk about our favourite band, Ghost. Today's episode, we're talking about the fandom.
Yeah. We figured that since we have all these discussions anyways, might as well enjoy other people into our conversation. And we thought it was appropriate, given all the recent news and putting things together. And we realized that, there is a good and a bad side to having large fandoms, and that's what we're going to discuss. This is not a unique experience to Ghost. This happens in pretty much every large artist or band. They all have these unique communities that follow them. And my personal opinion is the more theatrical an artist or band is, the more that community is drawn to them, like a moth to the flame.
That's correct. You see that a lot, like a lot of bands. Eventually, when they're getting bigger, sometimes the fandom gets them in chokehold.
Yeah. So I have to say, this is a great fandom. I have been to many rituals at this point. I have a blast. There's a lot of great people. I think what ends up happening is you get these communities online that kind of take advantage of the free-for-all that the internet and social media tends to be. And there no longer becomes a line between reality and the fantasy. And so I think with the current way that society is, especially with the internet and social media, there's just no line. There's no line between accessibility of an artist and the fantasy. Where in the early days of music and touring and stuff like that, I'm going to say, the 40s and 50s, everything was very curated. Like the image of those artists were very curated, where you only saw certain pictures. There was no accessibility. The only way you could talk to the artist is you would physically write a letter and send it to their little fan manager or whatever, and they probably never would ever see it. But there was never any accessibility. Whereas now you feel like you have access to them, depending on the artist. Some artists are very open with their personal lives, and others are a little bit more private. But if an artist is spotted out in the wild, within like 30 seconds, everybody knows where that person is.
Yeah, that's really bad.
Yeah.
And it's got to be hard to have any sort of private life if you're just seen anywhere, it's just instantly everybody knows where you are.
And for me as well, on that point, I think the thing that kind of bothers me a little bit when that's the situation is actually do see artists out in the wild. And this kind of almost, they have to have an instant gratification. It's like a kick, it's just, they've got to just go and to get something, anything, whether that's a photograph or, just like a word or, even, and we know that there was a situation where it happened when poor old Per was out after having broken his foot and people were out there asking for pics. And it's that kind of, like you say, that kind of the feeling that they're entitled to do that. But I think you're right saying that there's no set kind of like little pigeonhole now. There's just this blur of everything crossing over, and it's the internet. Yeah, I think that's obviously got a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I think it's taking away the spontaneous way of living for the artist in this case.
Yeah, and there's situations where I think people need to be better about reading the room in the situation. Like when you see a person you know, celebrity, artist, whatever, out in the quote unquote wild, you got to read the situation. If it's a social situation, then yeah, sure, mingle, go up to them and say hi, big fan, whatever. Don't trauma dump. But, ask them, can I take a picture or whatever? That's great. But if they're out with their family, if they're having dinner, or those are situations where you can kind of be like, oh, yeah, I saw this person. Yay, go me. But leave them alone. Like there's situations that it's okay to walk up to them. And then there are situations where it absolutely is not okay. And I've heard interviews from celebrities over the years that talk about, oh, yeah, we were at dinner and, they had people come up to them. They can't really enjoy being out, so they just never go out anymore. And I really hate to hear about any person who can't freely live their life because there's always people popping up out of and everywhere. Now, we see artists all the time at different festivals and stuff. They'll walk around. I feel like that's an appropriate situation where you can go up to them and like, oh my God, can I get a picture? Like, big fan.
Yep.
So I don't know if I'm just becoming the crotchety old woman that I'm becoming. And I'm like, these younger generations, they just don't know any social cues. But then again, the allegation of the stalker is a woman in her 40s. So I can't really say that.
True. But still, like, no, but like when you're talking about concerts and stuff like that, the younger generation, like, look at other bands, like, for example, the BTS, like the K-pop things and stuff like that. Those people can't live their lives either. And that's a younger generation.
Yeah. K-pop fans are definitely their unique species. But I also feel like that type of person also is drawn to bands like Avatar and Ghost and President, for that matter. Anything that has a certain amount of theatrics to it and opulence, I feel like attracts a certain type of person. And nothing wrong with that. Like, we all like what we like. It's just really interesting within the fandom where you have the music fans, you have the fans of the lore, and then you have the fans that take it to a whole new level, which, let's be honest, fan fiction has existed since Star Trek. Like, that was the first. And fan fiction can be very, very benign, just expanding into the world that their fandom is in. And then it goes all the way to the other side where it's really explicit. And if you're writing your fantasies, okay, go you. You share it with other people. People are really into that. I don't have a problem with that. We've heard we've heard Ghost say that he's interested, that people have taken his characters and his imagination and kind of made it their own, which is fine. You take the ideas and you can play with it and kind of make your own and create your own fantasies. And if you kind of stay in that bubble, okay. I think the problem
bubble.
I think the problem is when people don't realize that it is a bubble that they need to stay in, and you get issues where people are sending artists packages and cell phones and showing up in their apartment complex. That's not okay.
No, it's not.
Or
it's not,
if you're
but he said like he didn't mind when people would like do things in their fantasies with the characters of Ghost.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, this line that you're talking about, it's really thin, and then people actually started to talk about Tobias, which is bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think personally my line is there's the characters and then there's the person. And Ghost is not real. Like, it is a band. It is characters that don't exist outside of the stage or YouTube videos. You're not gonna encounter that character. That character is just fiction.
Yeah.
And I think there's a few people, it's a small population, that don't understand that Ghost is music, 80s inspired music that tells the story of the human experience through visuals of the Catholic Church, the dark side of the Catholic Church and the satanic church and the clergy. Like, it's not real.
Yeah.
It's not a cult. It's
Surprise.
fantasy. It's fantasy. And it's fantasy we all can enjoy and participate in our own little ways, so long as we're not crossing any lines.
Yeah, and that's the entire point of this topic today, because lines have been crossed pretty badly.
Yeah, and we're hearing more and more how badly the lines have been crossed.
Yeah.
Like, Tobias has been a very private person, and I don't blame him. But, with the allegations that have come up and just some of the things that have been alluded to, the reason why he doesn't do meet and greets anymore.
Yeah.
We've seen some of the photos of previous meet and greets, and I think it was all fun and games back then until people started taking it too far. The other thing is people would trauma dump on him. Like, I can't imagine hearing, "Oh my God, you've saved my life." Like,
oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine what that does to your mental well-being.
It's too much for one person to handle that.
Right.
Far too much. I mean, I did see a video on YouTube at some point where someone had videoed another person going up to him and saying, "Oh my God, Tobias, you saved me." And the look on his face was like, and he really didn't know what to say to that. And I don't think anybody would know what to say. I mean, what do you say to someone who says, "You saved me," but you don't actually know that person?
Yeah, that must be so surreal, so weird.
Yeah, seriously, how do you respond? Because I have my personal opinion about that. Like, for me, when somebody says, "Oh, so-and-so saved my life because of the music," and it's like, well, you saved your own life. You found something in life that gives you joy, and you decided that is the thing that is going to keep you moving through life. Like, you did that, not
you did it by yourself.
You did it by yourself. That other person, artist, whatever, didn't know you existed. So
yeah.
Yeah.
But Yeah, and then I'm sure there was a whole layer of this after the lawsuit came out when he got kind of outed, because it was after that shortly after that he stopped doing meet and greets. It was in the Cardi era, right? If I remember that correctly.
Yeah. Then he did that, but that was the COVID era, I think, because then there was a screen in between.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So that must have been in the
Yeah,
COVID.
there was.
I think that was the last one. I think.
I think after that was the end of that.
Yeah.
Again, can't really blame him. It's like you've got kind of this excuse with COVID saying, okay, well, we're not going to do this anymore. And then he probably realized like, oh, well, this is a lot less stressful. So let's just not do this anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I have a buddy who's a photographer he's kind of, he does mostly New York venues, and he has shot Ghost predominantly through the Terzo and Cardi eras. And he said that the change in the accessibility of the band was just massive, because during the Terzo era, you know, they were doing signings and they were meeting at record stores, and like you had a lot of access to the band. And then when the next era came out, it was the photographers were limited. There were no more signings. There was no access to the band. Security was way tighter. So it was really interesting to speak to somebody who was kind of on the front lines of the difference, you know, from one era to the next era. And then after the ascension from the Cardinal to, you know, Papa, then it was absolutely nobody. If you were not on the list, you were not participating. Venues were no longer opening up to other photographers. It was only the band photographer.
Yeah.
So,
I think the Copia one was the last meet and greet they did.
but they were very limited.
Yeah. True. But I remember it with there was something in, I think, a record store or something. And that was Copia with the sparkly blue jacket. And then there was a little meet and greet thing going on in a little record store. But after that, I never saw something similar.
Yeah, you don't really see anything after that.
No.
I mean, I don't blame him for not doing the meet and greets at the shows. One, it must be exhausting. But two, having seen some of the photographs that he was being asked to take with people, some of it's kind of really over the top.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like, well, that's not okay. It's just not okay to be asking someone to do photographs like that.
And I think in the beginning, I'm sure it was all fun and games. Like when the band was smaller and they was probably doing far less meet and greets because the audience is smaller and whatnot. I'm sure it started as like, tee, this is fun. But as you get bigger and more popular, and it probably became overwhelming, which as you grow and mature, you're allowed to change your opinion on something that you thought was fun at first and no longer fun. Like if he decides to never tour again, like that's his decision. He could change his mind of like, hey, this was great. This was a great run. I had a lot of fun. I almost got to my ultimate goal, and walk away when you're on top. There's been several bands that have done that.
Oh yeah,
true.
I mean, so many bands, because
I mean, I have to say, as a lifelong Rush fan, there were times during that kind of era of fandom for me where the band essentially disappeared for years. Right. And we didn't know what was going to be happening. We didn't know if they were ever going to be coming back, especially after Neil Peart lost his wife and daughter. And we were like, well, that's the end of the band. That's it. They're gone. And we waited years, never expecting to see them again. And then they turned back up again.
Yes. Right.
Okay, further on, Neil's died, the band split up, and now they're going back on tour again. It's a thing that we never thought we'd see. So, you know, yeah, Tobias might, and he's well within his rights. I mean, he can do whatever he wants to do. He is not beholden to anyone as far as the band's concerned. No one. He doesn't owe anyone anything. He could turn around and say, yep, that's it, guys. We've had a great time. I want to do something different now. That's going to be it for Ghost. But similarly, if he did do that, he's, like you were saying, he's got the ability to change his mind further down the line if he wants to do that as well.
Right.
Yeah. But some fans are really entitled ones. The entitled fans.
Yeah.
Or something else.
So I was reading an article the other day. This was about boy bands, specifically One Direction, which is a band name I haven't heard in a while. And there was a really, really good quote in the article, which I feel applies to Ghost. And the quote is now this isn't referring to the boy bands. And I kind of feel like the fandom crosses over in the mentality between boy bands and Ghost. So the quote is, "The truth is, boy bands die in one of only two ways. We lose interest or we run them into the ground." Again, this is about One Direction. One Direction has become a caged bird, and that's on all of us. The girls who loved One Direction and then destroyed them. And I feel like, even though they're talking about One Direction and boy bands, I feel like that applies to Ghost as well.
Yeah.
Like, the fandom got to the point where he was able to do the big, huge stage production that I always dreamed of doing. But also at the same time, it's the same fandom that has caused so much disruption to his life. So it's like, you have to take the good and the bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's been a worry of mine, for sure. I mean, I think that quote says everything. You know, it will be, in the end, if Ghost did fold, it would be Tobias's judgment, but partly that would be on the shoulders of the fans who have pushed too far.
And I really do not believe that the problematic part of the fandom is the majority. They are absolutely the minority.
Minority, yeah.
And I would honestly say there's probably less than 50 of them worldwide. But boy, howdy, are they the loudest population.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. I saw one have a complete and utter meltdown in the Ghost Discord after the official announcement of the break, and how this person was going to sell all of their stuff, and how dare he, and blah, blah, blah. I was like, wow, this is an intense crash out. Over what? Like, do you not have an identity past this band? Like, how do you exist as a person if the only thing you wake up and live for is just this one thing? Again, this goes back to what I was previously saying. It's not real. it's a band who makes really awesome music and has a fun little storyline that goes with it. It's entertainment.
Yes.
But it's what you were saying before, though, about lines being blurred. I mean,
Right.
I think you're right. I think it's the vast minority of people who are causing problems, but they're also the people who maybe see the relationship that they have with the band is in some way reciprocal, and it's not. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes. So I have encountered some people who, very nice people. Absolutely. I don't think they would harm a fly, these particular people I'm talking about. But there is this perception that they have some sort of connection to the band because they work for something that is loosely related to the band, or they have had some online encounters with some members of the band, or even the staff around the band, whether it be security or some of the roadies. Because I know some of the roadies have a huge social media presence. And these people who are always on barricade, and they perceive these people as their friends, but I'm not entirely sure that's the whole story.
Yeah, I think some of the fans are just trying to be friends or becoming into the friend zone, and just because they can gain something out of it.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think they definitely go looking for some kind of connection to get closer.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's not even when these roadies stop working for Ghost, they will like possibly unfollow them because there's nothing to gain for them anymore. So they just leave.
Right. And that kind of goes to the topic of, what does the modern groupie look like?
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, groupies have evolved over the years. Again, that goes back to the accessibility of bands. Originally, when touring, when there was no social media, where you would have to physically follow a band around if you wanted to get close to them. And of course, back then there wasn't the security. Everything was a little bit looser. Whereas now you've got, again, with the internet and social media, the groupie has evolved into something a little bit more public, I feel like. Because, before the internet, if you were really into a band, it's like, oh, you have your posters and you put them on your wall and you would talk to your friends in person. Well, now that's all on the internet. The new posters on the wall is Tumblr and Instagram and TikTok. And your group of friends chatting is now the same thing, TikTok and...
Yeah, the comment section.
Yeah, the comment section. So all of that is now public. And so it's way more out there in your face. And that's great. People can find their community. But I just feel like the groupie has evolved to something different.
Yeah. And it's like you were saying about the following people like, say, Richie or the Roadies or whatever, and as soon as they're not touring with Ghost, they move on to someone else. It's literally like some of the scenes that are in Almost Famous. One set's finished, now we're moving on and going with someone else.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, some of the roadies that, just because I'm fascinated with tours and setups and stuff like that. So I do follow a lot of roadies that have been with all sorts of bands. Some of them have been with Ghost, some of them have, haven't, but there's a couple accounts that were with Ghost, and I saw how active and how many people were talking to them through their accounts, but now they've moved on to a completely different genre.
Yeah.
And there's barely anybody who comments or likes the posts. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, fair weather, guys.
Yeah.
I think most of the fans also kind of forget, I don't know, that those people are hired. They will work for a specific time or amount of time and then move on. Like, for example, Richie, he was working for, I think it was Limp Bizkit, if I'm not...
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
He's working, he's a head of security for a special, some kind of office somewhere. And he will be hired to grant some safety for an artist. And that's it. It's not that they are living with the artist for the rest till the end of time. And I think a lot of people forget about that. Like,
yeah, they have to go where the work is.
Right.
Yeah. You can see that with almost everyone working in whatever industry you're working in. It's you just move, you go with the flow, people.
Right. These are not personal security. I think like some celebrities do have personal security and they stay with them all the time. But a touring band, it's a hired company, and I'm sure he gets to pick people that he's worked with before, because you do get comfortable with people in that situation. So there's preference to people in that. But just because you've talked to a roadie a few times doesn't mean you instantly have access to the band, because they're hired help.
Yeah.
They're not having drinks with them on a Friday night.
Yeah. And that's where we were talking about the lines being blurred. I mean, they're completely blurred there.
Yeah. And like, if I have reached out to one roadie once because he posted a video about a lighting setup, and I legit just had a question about the lighting setup. It's like, oh, I wanted to know, the specific program that he was using to write the lighting display. Yeah. And I couldn't really see what it was on the video. So legit, that was it. Nothing else. Like, I think that the roadies, when they do post stuff like that, that's what they want to see. They want to kind of educate people, like, this is how it goes and stuff like that. But yeah, I just feel like social media has a lot to do with how fandoms behave these days.
Well, yeah. I'm not going to go into my favourite topic about Mary on a Cross and TikTok, because I would be here all night with that one. But
we'll just call it the double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
I mean, there's nothing wrong with talking about Mary on the Cross, because it's just an opinion, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, of course, we talked about this before. I think it's definitely the double-sided cross that Jane was talking about. Like, it brought new people, and it gave the opportunity to grow even quicker or faster. So I think personal goals could be reached more easily, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But at the other hand, it was messing around with with certain kind of people that actually were attracted by that song. So in a way, it gave them a lot of growth, but maybe not the growth that they needed, if that makes any sense. Like in a way, yeah.
So yeah, the viral TikTok audio definitely brought in the numbers to the fan base for him to be able to grow.
Yeah.
However, however, since it originated on TikTok, and TikTok is a certain demographic, that brought in a lot more younger people to the band. And that's not a bad thing, but I personally feel that the younger generation has an issue with instant gratification.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So that brought in that element into the fandom. And not that saying that it didn't exist prior to it, but it just kind of amplified it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
In a way, yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And that's not saying that they're all the same. I mean, it's not saying there are the most incredible young fans in the fan base who are wonderful people, who are amazing artists, you know, who have brought an awful lot of sparkle and light to the fandom as well. But I guess this is what I was talking about with entitlement, you know what I mean, and instant gratification. I think it's the same kind of thing. It's almost like, right, we're really into this, but we want things now, and we need this now, and we need this now. And, you know, we've kind of seen enough rock concerts over the years that we've been going to them to know that it doesn't really work that way.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I just hope people will be a lot more aware of what is being put out there. And I know that some of it is going to get back to the artist. I don't think all of it, but things that are going to pick up steam and be viral are definitely going to get back to the artist. And I just wish that people would be a little bit more aware of what they're putting out there, you know, publicly.
Yeah.
You can have your little giggle fest with your friends and stuff like that and be like, ha ha ha, he's so cute, blah, 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 blah. Like, I'm not saying anything about that. Everybody has their little giggle fests. It's just human nature. You know, some people are just really attracted to what's being put out there, and go you. I'm glad you found your thing. But putting out there publicly things that blur lines, I just think people need to be aware of that. And that goes to this, I think it's kind of a cute story. In one of the interviews, you know, Tobias is talking about the label having a panic attack because Mariana Cross is going viral, and they're just like, oh my God, we have to do something about this, blah, 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 blah. And he's kind of like, what? You know, I think it's a cute little story because, you know, it's something he never really anticipated because the song had been out for a while.
Yeah.
Yes. He was called into the office, right?
Yeah, he was called into the office and he said, oh, we got to do something about it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wasn't it one of his children said something about it too?
Yeah, I think what he said in this interview was that I think it was his daughter came up to him like, you know that Mariana Cross went viral on TikTok, right? Like, and he was like, huh? And then like a couple of hours later or something, or
then the record label is like, hey,
they start calling him like, hey, we have to do a meetup because it was like, okay.
Yeah. How wild that must have been.
crazy, especially for someone who's not on social media and who wouldn't have a clue what it was, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know how much he actually does know about social media. I feel like through his children, he probably knows quite a bit.
He'll know a certain amount, but for him himself, I mean, he's not sitting on a phone going, right, I'm going to keep an eye on TikTok and I'm going to keep an eye on this. But it must have been wild.
It's in his nature. I mean, obviously, I don't know him, but like, I don't think it's in his nature to be like, let's check what people will say about. I don't think he really cares as long as he can do what he feels is right.
Right. Yeah, it's not like the guys who are the main actors for Supernatural. I don't know if you're familiar with that series. They are hyper aware of what is said on social media and online.
Okay.
They actually have a pretty decent attitude towards it. They actually talk about things when you see them at panels at conventions and stuff like that. And they allude to some of the fan art and things that they've seen online. And the Supernatural fandom is spicy. I'm just going to say that. It is real spicy. So
there's definitely an element of that in the Ghost fandom, though.
Oh yeah, there is. I've accidentally stumbled.
I went on to one of the bigger fanfic sites and had a look at the kind of things that were being posted. And I was like, oh, I wonder what this is. And I clicked on it and suddenly this drawing came up, which I was just like, holy God. I mean, it was something else. And I was like, click off.
Yeah, you have to tread very carefully when you start wandering around on the internet.
Yeah, for sure. It's,
you have to pay attention to tags.
Oh, and I just didn't. I absolutely did not. I was just like, oh, I wonder what this is. Click. Oh my God. Switch off. Yeah, it was, That would take your eye out.
I will have to say, though, when I have stumbled down some of those paths on the internet, I'm just like, there are some crazy good artists out there. Like,
there are.
Oh, they really are. There are.
I was like, you got Anatomy unlocked. Good job.
Well, I think the one I saw was more wishful thinking, but hey. But there are incredible artists out there that are doing fantastic jobs.
There are some really good artists that I've seen who've done some fan art, not spicy fan art, but like regular fan art. I'm just like, wow. Have you guys seen the person who does like the bleach paintings on t-shirts and sweatshirts? Yeah. That is just like mind-boggling to me.
I'm on the list for one of those.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But
he's incredible. Absolutely incredible what he does.
And that's the part of the fandom that I enjoy the most.
Yeah.
Is these artists that come out and just make these incredible works of art related to the lore and the characters and the production. Just even the cosplayers. Like I've done cosplay myself, but there are some amazing cosplayers out there.
Mm-hmm.
Not talking about the ones that blur the lines between their own identity and what they're cosplaying.
But I've seen this one artist that has actually quite some artwork done for Ghost, and then started a Patreon with like adult drawings on it.
Oh,
of Ghost.
Yeah, I was like, what actual? Like, I mean, this person is so loved by the fandom, and on the Patreon, it's one big hell of a shit show. It really, I wouldn't do that if I would work for them. I can't wrap my head around it. Like, how does this work? Like, you're in this great position of making artworks that are actually printed on the shirts, and then started patrons with the papas and stuff, like actually doing sex stuff.
so
Wow.
That's
I
weird.
guess so. I think for an ethics topic on this, I think I have an issue with taking somebody else's IP and twisting it to be something else, and then you requiring other people to pay for that content.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like you're stealing somebody else's IP, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I feel the same.
Like going out and making fan art and putting on your Tumblr or Instagram or whatever. Okay, I have no problem with that. But when you take something and you twist it and then you make other people
Yeah,
pay
you
for
monetize it. Yeah.
Yes.
I think ethically I have a problem with that. And that's actually for no matter what the content is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like if you're making money off of somebody else's ideas, I have a problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have a problem with people who make an identity off of the coattails of something else.
Yep.
There's a couple different people who do that, like
Yes.
even to the point that the name of the said person is very similar to the more A-list celebrity.
Yeah.
I tend to have an ethical dilemma with that.
Yes.
Now, again, in the cosplay world, I know some people will get known for cosplaying a particular character. That's different. That is completely different.
Yes.
But when you're riding the coattails of somebody else, make your own identity. Be your own person.
Yeah, but I in certain artists, I don't think they would actually make it by themselves. So for that reason, it might be the case that they keep using, for example, Ghost to make money of that, you know.
And also,
Yeah.
I mean, Ghost's the flavour of the month right now. So they're going to be making money while they can.
Yes.
Well, it's still hot property, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, and let's keep in mind that there are IPs that get very litigious over this.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I mean, the biggest one being Disney.
Yeah.
They will come after you. So I guess when you are doing such thing, you need to tread carefully.
Or reach out at least and
Right.
get some agreements done. Have contracts made, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty important. So you know what is the line.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't cross it. That you actually got permits to do something. If you can't get that permit to do such thing, then you know they're either not willing to to work with someone or give out some permits because they're simply don't want to, because they want to keep things within their own company, which is fair.
Yeah.
But just some of them don't even try. They just start and just do something and get money out of it, and that's really bad.
Yeah, there's social boundaries and there's also legal boundaries.
Yes. Yes.
And sometimes the social boundaries become legal boundaries.
Exactly. Yep.
So,
and that's what I see a lot in the ghost fandom. Like,
yeah.
I mean, to be fair, like people selling things, like even making those shirts that you just talking about, right? It's the likeness of the pawpaws and stuff. Those are registered things. So in a way, that's also a legal thing, but it's different than, for example, doing drawings and stuff in general. Like, so people do a lot of things, but they barely know what they're doing in that kind of positions.
Right. Right.
And there's a lot of things on Etsy just now as well. I mean, I think aren't ghosts going after some of the people who are on Etsy with the things that they're selling on there?
A lot has been taken down already.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily that it's great quality. Is there are things that are out there which are incredible, like you're saying, the artworks and things like that. And there are other things that are being sold. I mean, I'm seeing things on Vinted, which people are just putting up to sell, and it's plastic tat in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? It's not something that's necessarily really good quality. But as you said, it's like the artists have their IP, and it belongs to them. Everything, all of it belongs to them. The characters belong to Ghost, the logos, everything. And I think people don't understand what IP is in some instances.
Exactly.
They don't get that.
Yeah. Yeah, but there's certain things also within some of the people around Ghost that I just simply don't get. Like, for example, the artist that which I was talking about before, like the artist that was on several t-shirts and stuff. They know what this person has been doing, and he's still granted to put out some things for the t-shirts. And I sometimes just don't get that. Like, why would you even work with a person knowing that he's putting out some adult stuff with the likeness of the Papas, for example? Sometimes I just don't understand.
Because it would have to know.
Do they actually know that that's what's happening?
I mean, I would think they would know. But again, what they find acceptable and what we might find acceptable might be two completely different things.
That's possible. That is possible. But it's, I think, to go back to what you just said in the beginning, like those lines and the boundaries, that like sometimes there simply are none.
Interesting topic. Definitely an interesting topic. And it's, really interesting to see the same makeup of fandoms and all kinds of other bands and things and stuff. It's always the same formula, no matter who the artist or the fandom is.
It works.
It's just, it's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting social study.
Someone should write a paper about it.
Yeah. Back in my early days of school, I once thought about going into psychology. And I think that's why I still have interest in things like this, is, the psychology of fandoms. I'm sure there's papers and things written already. But it's definitely been very interesting in my experience over these last 20, 25 years of being involved in so many different fandoms. And it's just seeing the exact same thing over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the cycle will ever be broken. I hate that it is affecting, a band and artists that we clearly enjoy. And I hope that maybe in a couple of years' time, maybe the more toxic population of the fandom kind of moves on to something else. And then that we can get back our more smaller and more intimate encounters that we used to have with Ghost. I don't know if they could ever return to that. That might be a pipe dream. But until they come back or whatever, I'm going to hold on to that.
I don't know. I think it's a good dream to hang on to. I don't see why that couldn't happen in the future. People get bored and they move on.
Yeah, exactly. I think the break now has happened and at the exact right time.
I think so too.
I think for me personally, it could have been right after Re-Imperator. To be honest, I think the break could have started after Re-Imperator.
Yeah, I think that would have been a natural place for a break.
Mm-hmm. But maybe I mean, we don't know what was happening after that, and obligations and stuff, and record labels and stuff. But and how it actually exploded, I think it would have been better to actually have been settled into Tobias' mind as well, because it's exploded. Ghost exploded. Mm-hmm. So I'm not even surprised if he is only sitting back now and thinking, wow, what the hell actually happened? What have we done? What have we achieved?
I could see it also feeling a little bit like Frankenstein's monster too. Like, oh my God,
it's look alive.
At this. It's like, look at this thing that I have created.
Yeah.
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 But it's sorry, I got distracted. So Ghost just won the Swedish Grammy for Best Rock Metal Band.
Yay! Oh, good. Congrats. Yay.
I was like, why is my phone? My phone kept like lighting up with notifications. I'm like, what is going on? I was like, oh, okay.
So the fans can be happy.
That's a really positive thing. That's good.
Yeah.
Yes.
There will be new photos of Tobias for the fans, of course.
Yes.
Yay! Oh, that's great. Congratulations, Ghost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Swedish Grammy for Best Rock Metal Band. I know they were nominated for 6 different awards.
Yeah, six different ones.
That's a really, really good way to finish up, don't you think?
Yeah,
I think so. I think that's a positive note.
Let's all jump into the internet. Let's read.
It's always good to finish up with a positive.
Very
absolutely.
Positive.
Very complicated topic, and I think the announcement of a win is a way to wrap this up.
So cool, ladies. Let's do
Yes.
this again sometime.
Let's do this again
Soon.
sometime. Very soon.
Yeah. It's three gals rambling on about our favorite band.
Ghost.
Yeah.
Well, goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
thanks, guys. See you soon. Bye.